Whoa, that is quite a title now, isn't it? Now, bear with me for just a moment. Give me a chance to explain. I'm going to make a promise to my current and any potential future viewers right here at the beginning of this video. I promise you, I will not become a wild, wacky conspiracy theorist that just goes off the deep end and repeats things he heard on the internet, okay? Do we got that out of the way? We're going to have a talk like adults today, and I know some of you are struggling with that. You got your red hats on a little too tight, cutting off blood flow to the old brain up there. But hey, if you want to sit there and listen, that's fine. The adults are talking right now. All right, so I was listening to a radio show out of Las Vegas that I quite enjoy called Pushing the Limits. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of it or not. And he had a guest on there by the name of spoonamore. And apparently Steven spoonamore has a background in the IT field, a long background. Maybe you guys can look him up if you want to know the specifics of Steven spoonamore, but cybersecurity, stuff like that. And he has come to the conclusion. Now, keep in mind, I'm speaking my words here. I'm not putting words in his mouth. So if I misrepresent something, I apologize. I just do these videos off the top of my head. But he has come to the conclusion that there are some anomalies in the last election, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, that he believes should be investigated, I think. Now, what he's not doing is making any outright claims of stolen elections, election fraud, or anything like that. He's just saying, we see some weird things over here, and we want to talk about it. So, we're going to talk about that in the video. I am not making a claim of election fraud. I am not making a claim that the election was stolen, okay? There is one thing I refuse to do, my friends, and that is become one of those red hats, become one of those crazy fucking lunatics that just have lost their ever-loving minds and now spend every day yelling about their conspiracy theories. And one of the things I hate the most about what MAGA has done to the world is they made conspiracy theories not fun anymore. Remember, they used to be fun. You could just sit back and listen to some weird shit and be like, yeah, that's kind of fun to think about. And then you would just kind of sit there and think about it. It's when you start trying to make those conspiracy theories reality, it gets really fucking annoying for everyone else involved. And if I'm being completely honest with you, I don't know where you find the time or the energy to throw a 4-year temper tantrum about the election was stolen from me. Holy shit. Do you guys have jobs? Do you have anything you could be doing besides this maniac shit that you're doing right now? So, he is not making a claim that the election was stolen. I am not making a claim that the election was stolen. But he said some very, very interesting things. He was talking about mathematical anomalies and statistical anomalies, things that just don't really add up with the knowledge that we have about elections. So he had mentioned things like Donald Trump didn't win the popular vote by much, right? Listen, I accept the results of the election. With all evidence that exists right now in the world, Donald Trump is the winner of the election. I know, MAGA, your brains are fried right now. You can't believe those words are coming out of someone's mouth, but that's what I'm saying. With all evidence that currently exists, he did win. So, with the small margin, though, that Donald Trump won the popular vote by, he finds that it's unordinary for Donald Trump to have swept all 7 swing states, for him to have won all 7 swing states. Now, according to him, that's a sort of a statistical, not necessarily impossibility, but way out there, just not statistically something that should happen. So, with that information, he is saying that he believes things should be looked into. Now, like I said, remember, he is not making a claim that the election was stolen, but you should know that he is a registered Republican. He, although from what I heard from him, he was not talking about any loyalty to Donald Trump, because let's face it, the Republican Party was hijacked quite a while ago from a bunch of lunatics, and the Republican Party is not what they used to be. I respect a guy that can still say, I am a Republican, but that has jack shit to do with Donald Trump. That's not a Republican, Donald Trump. what was I saying? I forgot. He's not making a claim though of election fraud and that it's been stolen. He's making the claim that there are suspicious things about the math and the statistics having to do with the election. Now, he does think those things should be investigated, and he's offered up, I guess he called it a bounty, where he is offering up, I don't know if I want to use the term cash reward, but for information that can be brought to him having to do with what he understands of the election and what somebody else might know that he doesn't know. Now, he's still not making the claim that once he gets that information, he is going to go, it's voter fraud, they've done all that. He's going to look at the information. He's not running to the courts like MAGA and looking like a complete idiot and making no case whatsoever, because you remember the Donald Trump cases went to what, like 61, 62 courts, and every one of them was shot down, even by Trump appointed judges. Do you know why they were? Because there was zero evidence for voter fraud in the last election. And that's kind of the fucking problem now, isn't it? When people take things that have no fucking evidence and then they start shouting at everybody else that they have to believe their thing with no evidence, and then we're all the assholes because we won't listen to their little weird fantasies about how their election was stolen from them, the poor babies. Jesus fucking Christ. Anyways, all he's doing, as far as I understand, is collecting data and trying to find ways to investigate. Now, if he were to come up with information, actual information, okay, guys, that's important. That's an important thing. I'm not going to jump on this bandwagon. I am not. I am going to follow it. I'm going to pay attention to the story. And if he turns out to be a crackpot that's just saying wacky shit, I'm going to just forget he ever said anything. I'm just going to go on with my life, and that's okay. Because of course I'd like this to be true. Today when I was listening to it at first, I was like, oh God, I see how easy it is now to fall into conspiracy theories, because yes, you want so bad for that thing to be true that your brain almost won't stop you from just going off the fucking deep end and going into all that crazy shit. So what I'm going to do is listen to what him and people with these ideas have to say. I will not give them any credence or credit or anything, or take their word for it, unless they are willing to provide actual evidence that they're willing to put in front of a court. I'd like to see it out in the public view, but I don't know how that works with court cases. And I don't know that I have the brain capacity to understand what they're telling me anyways. That's the difference between me and a whole lot of motherfuckers out there right now, is a lot of motherfuckers out there right now think they're a lot smarter than they really are. And then they have zero evidence and scream at us because they claim it is evidence. Fucking Mike Pillow, fucking Rudy Giuliani, holy shit, those guys are off their fucking rockers, and people are actually listening to them. I did forget the point that I was making, just in case anybody's caught on to that. I did forget what I was talking about. But, anyways, that's kind of where I stand with it. He's saying that he's looking for information, and that's it. That's all he is saying. I think it's a very respectable way to go about it. He, like I said, he made no claims of voter fraud, just statistical and mathematical anomalies, and that's cool. I think we're all allowed to ask questions. I think that's where MAGA jumped the shark a while ago. You're allowed to ask questions. You're allowed to say you didn't like the way something went. Those things are perfectly acceptable. It's when you try to get everybody else to go along with it. And I'm glad they did it first, right? I'm glad they questioned their election first and went completely off the deep end, because now, as usual, the Democrats can be the adults in the room, and if they determine that there is evidence that needs to go in front of judges, evidence that needs to be investigated, they will do that the appropriate way instead of acting like petulant children on the internet and screaming at everyone else, which I think is fantastic. We're always happy to show you guys the way, and every time you fuck up, we're always happy to show you how to act like an adult and do things like an adult should do. We don't mind. We just wish you would learn from us every fucking once in a while, if you don't mind. You know, just every time we lead by example, it would be okay if you fucking went along with it too, or at least learned something from us. My overall point of view on it is I find it interesting. like I said earlier in the video, I understand how your mind would take you down that path, because when I started listening to it, I went, oh fuck, our election was stolen. They stole it from us, holy shit. And then I had to calm myself down. That's the step I think a lot of people skipped, was the calm yourself the fuck down part and listen to the actual information, which the last election provided no information of voter fraud whatsoever. He did go on to talk about different ways that the votes could be manipulated, but he made no accusations that they actually were. I respect this in a person. I think that if you want to ask questions and you have the know-how to go investigate those things, I respect that. From listening to him for just one time, I've only listened to one segment from him, I am going to give him the benefit of a doubt and say that if he finds that there's nothing credible there, I hope that he comes and just tells us that. If he finds that there is something credible there, well, I hope he tells us that in a way that judges can understand, in a way that hopefully the general population can understand. But I just want to say, it's interesting. I am not sold on the idea. I will wait to see how information comes out, and from there, we will figure out what happens next. And it's really as simple as that. If he comes out a couple months from now and says, I'm not able to find any information, it just felt weird to me, I'll accept that answer, right? Because I'm an adult. If he does find something credible, he seems like he's a smart enough person to know the proper channels to go through and do it the right way, instead of working up a bunch of people. So as I said in my first video on this channel, you will not see me on January 6th participating in an insurrection without any knowledge, or any information, any credible information of what went on. And we, my friends on the left over here, I hope that as this starts to gain more traction, people hear this guy speak more. I hope that we can all be responsible adults, sit back and listen for the information, let that go through the courts, let that go through the proper channels before we act like complete butt-fucking buffoons. I didn't mean to say butt-fucking buffoons, but I did. That's what came out of my mouth. I meant to say fucking buffoons, like the other side did. Okay? I'm not here to control people. This is a very small channel. I don't have influence over here. But I'd like to see us be mature about it. Can we do that? Can we do that? I hope we can. So, hey, that's about all I got on it. I think it's interesting. I will follow the story. And I promise my viewers that I will not become a crazy conspiracy theorist. Are we all good with that? All right, then. Bye now.